Welcome back. You are listening to the Shoot the Heels podcast, and today's episode is with Beth Warford, who founded Pretty Loaded. Pretty Loaded focuses on training people, on educating people on how to have situational awareness and the importance of personal safety. But before we begin the actual interview, I just wanted to give a heads up to the audience that since we are going to be talking about situational awareness and the importance of personal safety, some of the scenarios which will be discussed may be triggering or disturbing for some as it discusses sexual abuse and sexual assault. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Chew the Heels podcast. I'm here with Beth Warford from Pretty Loaded. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me.
It's great to have you on the show, and I see that you're doing a lot of work in helping to give people the tools to prevent the worst things from happening. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and also how you started this project, Pretty Loaded?
Yeah. So I'm a former pediatric ICU nurse and neonatal ICU nurse, sedation nurse, and I saw a lot of bad things happen to children. I've had to take children off of life support that were abused. I've had to do sedations for small children that were raped. I've had to see a lot of really bad stuff, and I started when I was 22 years old doing that. And so I had something happen to me when I was out with my two oldest daughters in public. I had a would-be predator almost assault me, and my brother came to my rescue. But that completely changed my life. I actually froze in that situation. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any of that type of training with what to do, but it changed my life. So I looked into self-defense and I found handguns and I found martial arts, but I knew there had to be something different, like criminals. Who are criminals? How do they select their targets? And so I found all of this research done on criminals. I found things like situational awareness, paying attention to your surroundings, pre-attack body indicators, because over 90% of all communication is body language. And then I started to find things like fringe areas, where do criminals assault people? And so I decided that I could save people from harm. I could save people from crime. I could save people from violence. So I started this company 9 years ago.
So one day someone almost assaulted you, and
Right.
then that was a start for you to say, you know what, that's enough. I'm going to do something about it.
Right. Well, and my backstory as well. When I was 8 years old, my best friend's mother was murdered in the house behind our house. I lived in a small city in North Dakota, but this person went on to kill four people. And from the time I was 8 years old, I never felt safe in my home ever again. Back in the 80s, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about the fact that she was just all of a sudden gone. My whole life, I've been had fearful energy, and I've been almost a victim multiple times because of my fearful energy and my lack of eye contact. Every time I'd get afraid of somebody, I would divert my eyes. And it was the wrong thing to do. So I've almost been a victim a lot of times, but because my intuition is off the charts, I saved myself from so many things. And so this has kind of been brewing, over the years. I just wanted to stop feeling afraid. And that's why I developed this company, and I needed to stop feeling afraid because I had four daughters that I had to protect.
So you mentioned a couple of things. I think you mentioned low energy. You had like a very like a low energy, and also you didn't have this like a solid eye contact. Does that pay into the role of uh, do criminals look at that? Look at
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there have been multiple studies done on criminals and who they target, and they go after distracted people, little or no eye contact, slow walkers, people that have an unusual gait. So humans are just like animals. We
Mhm.
go after the easiest, the criminals go after the easiest, weakest target. If you have strong eye contact, it shows that you are a fighter. They don't want a fighter. They want somebody easy. So you need to walk with your head high, strong eye contact, shoulders back, walk faster if you can, walk with purpose, walk with an organized, structured movement. So I basically teach you how to be a hard target so you're not selected by a criminal.
And so I'm assuming that a lot of people who come to work with you or uh, to learn from you, they come and it could be that they've never stood up for themselves, or maybe they've never voiced their opinion. And how do you give them that? I'm not sure if it's self-esteem or that confidence where they can hold their head high and it's okay.
Yeah, so we kind of go through, all the stages and steps. So first you need to know who are the criminals. Most people are surprised by who criminals are. They're not just the thugs on the street. They can be wealthy people, intelligent, attractive people. So we kind of run through who criminals are, expose their tactics. Then we talk about situational awareness, paying attention to what looks out of place, what seems out of place. We focus on intuition because intuition is the highest form of all intelligence. And then we run through scenarios, and then we talk about fringe areas. Where do most crimes happen, right?
Mhm.
And then we run through different scenarios. Okay, this person is targeting you, and we know they're targeting you because they're staring at you. They've been staring at you for like 3 seconds or more. So in order to know that you're a target, they're staring at you, whether it's your a purse or something on you. That always stare at the target or the person, and then they try to get close to you. They try to position themselves close to you. So I teach people, okay, keep your space from that person. If you see somebody cross the street, go into a store, walk with somebody, use a vehicle, get away from that person. That's number one, right? Number three is they test you. They ask you a question. It might be, hey, can I get the time of day? This is just to distract you and to see if you're compliant. So there's all sorts of steps that they take, but we run our clients through these scenarios. We tell them, okay, this, your palm out is stop, and it's universal. You don't have to speak English. This means stop, don't come any closer. We have them kind of stagger their body language, kind of blade their body, right? And then also say, stop, I can't help you. And it's enough where you have strong eye contact. And if they keep coming at you, then they've announced bad intentions. But we go through all of that. Most women have a very hard time speaking up and saying stop. And they have to practice it. And they have to know, okay, you need to move. You need to move off the X, we call it. Move to the left or the right, but you're not backing up. You're not being submissive. So it's a lot of it is just knowing these details. Once they get through our training, they know what to do, they know what to look for, they know most of the time it's moving away from that person, getting out of the situation.
And I think that it's great that you're doing this training because when someone doesn't use a muscle, let's say, if you're not using that muscle, you wouldn't know what to do with, how to act. And so by working on strategies and situational awareness, how many people has this helped?
Well, I've personally trained thousands of people in person, thousands of people on
Wow.
webinars, and then my videos have reached hundreds of millions of people globally. So, yeah, I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of YouTube comments that I've saved a lot of people from crime and from harm. So it's helped a lot of people. And the reason I started this company is because I think prevention is huge because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So you have food and water and shelter at the bottom, then safety and security, and then you keep going up to your best self, which is self-actualization. And if you feel afraid at home or you feel afraid at work, you're never going to get to your best self. But it also goes the other way. If you're victimized and you're at the top, you're going to fall back to that safety and security level again. And you need training, you need help to get back up to your best self. It's all about being your best self in life.
Well, I like how this training that you're doing, how it's going. I'm now I would like to ask regarding, the situational awareness. What are some situations which we can use as an example for the listeners that they need to be aware of? Because I'm bringing this up because so many times you hear people say, well, if anything happens, I'll just call 911 and I'll wait for the ambulance or I'll wait for the police to come. What are situations which can, hit home to some audience members to think, well, damn, I should really get some training?
Yeah, well, the average encounter is over in 9 seconds, and the police department is 10 to 15 minutes away. That's a good police department. There are some cities that it takes much longer for them to get there. And so it's important that you are your own first responder. The police actually call it yo-yo time. You're on your own until they can get there. Even if you're stressed out and you're dialing 911, it's hard. Your fine and gross motor skills deteriorate when you're stressed. It's hard to call anybody, and by the time the call goes through the call center, then do you know where you are on the street? Can you tell people where your address is? You're so scared, right? So you have to be able to take care of yourself. But most of it is just not looking at your phone. You're not distracted. Most people don't realize that the lack of situational awareness is the number 4 cause of death in America. Accidents are the number 4 cause of death. It used to be number 3. So just by looking at your phone, not paying attention, you could walk out into traffic. You could fall off a ladder.
Mhm.
You could, fall down the stairs. There's multiple things, but it's also about being a good human being too, because you might see somebody that needs your help. And now you're going to assist this person because you see that they need help. And it's just, our ancestors paid attention all the time. And now it's just everybody's so distracted.
Well, you mentioned ancestors, and a lot of the younger kids nowadays, they look at me like I'm only in my 30s, and they look at me like I'm someone very old. But you mentioned how the older generations, they paid a lot more attention. And as we see, generation to generation, I wonder if the next generations, if they will be as attentive. But touching on that, I now want to ask, what about the kids, those who are starting to walk to school, or those who are going out? Do you also have situational awareness, or do you have any kind of training for them as well?
I do. So I have videos for them and walking to and from school. Don't fall for the car that's asking you to help find a puppy, or come with them. Strangers aren't always scary. Strangers can be women. Bad people can be women as well. They need to know that. It's not just men all of the time. So it's walking with people. It's keeping your distance. It's having a safe house, knowing how to run and get somewhere safely. I also have guides for children. Parents are responsible for their children's safety under the age of 10. Like if they're in a mall or anything, they have to watch their children like a hawk. And they need to have a plan ahead of time. Okay, if we get lost, one of you gets lost, see that, big fish tank, or see that counter over there. You're going to go to that counter and you're going to tell somebody, that you're lost, but try to find a woman with a child if you can. So there's all sorts of safety measures, safety plans. I don't like to terrify children whatsoever, but you need to tell them that there are bad people out there. Restrooms are a huge fringe area. So if your child is younger or a smaller child, go with your child into that restroom. Don't just assume they're going to be okay in that restroom. So there's all sorts of tips that we have, and we have guides on our website and videos for that.
Like so often, especially in the 90s, I grew up as a 90s, oh, I'm an 80s, 90s kid. And so often I would think that, hey, everyone is just nice and dandy. And I remember one time I took a candy from some stranger at the laundromat, and my parents were asking me, "Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that candy?" And I pointed, some guy who wasn't there anymore, some guy over there. And then, of course, my parents were terrified. But in the mind of my, me being 7 years old, I was just thinking that everyone is okay. So I really, now looking back, something could have happened. I could have been kidnapped or worse. And the you mentioned in the beginning how, you know in the medical field, how you treated uh, victims. And
Mm-hmm.
how does it feel for you knowing that the tools you are teaching are helping to prevent these abuses from happening?
Well, that's basically my why. That's why, I keep on with Pretty Loaded, with all the times I've wanted to quit because the website's broken or something, just as an entrepreneur, things sometimes don't go very well and you just want to stop. But my why is definitely because I believe that I am saving people from harm and from violence. And I had one poor girl, she was, I believe, 14 years old, and her friend was raped on the way to school. She lived in Michigan. And she started carrying a knife to school because she was terrified for her life. And she got in big trouble because of the knife, but they had her take my training, just so, she could know what to do instead of having a knife on her since she wasn't supposed to have one. But she was a different child after that. And so I feel for a lot of people that are not in safe environments. And right now I'm training a lot of people that are having to go back to work, and they're going back to work in Seattle and Portland and LA and Minneapolis. Is very dangerous on the streets, because you can get fentanyl for $1 now. So there are tons of drug addicts on the street that are assaulting these people just going back to work. And this training is real. People would be shocked at what's going on in America right now. And so I feel good about giving people real skills to protect their life, because I don't want anybody to be assaulted at all, or anybody to be robbed, or any of that. So that's basically my why.
Wouldn't that be great if we wouldn't have to see that on the news like every day? Because you know, I watch a lot of YouTube, and there I have like the compilation of different news networks, and you see all over the United States, kidnappings, nabbings, and worse things that I don't even want to mention. They're just so
Yeah.
atrocious, but it keeps on happening, and most of the time, the victim is either a child or a young woman, and it just keeps on repeating itself. uh what are criminals like? How do they see the world? Because I know that you teach people to have situational awareness, to be aware, but I don't think people are aware of the criminal mind. What can you say about that?
Wow. You Criminals are very, very bad and violent. They've done a lot of MRIs on criminals that are violent criminals, and they don't have an empathy center. So it's very hard to try to take, like, let's say a sex offender and try to change their mind. It's very hard to do that. They only care about themselves. They care about what they want, and they will get what they want. They don't even care about the police or anything. They don't care if they end up back in prison. They will do what they want to do. So people need to understand that there are very violent, vicious people out there on the street. And when you understand that, then you can kind of, take it to the next level. Like we always teach people, don't go with somebody if they come up to you and they have a knife or a gun. Don't go to another location. You're not coming back. If they wanted to kill you, they would just go up to you and kill you. They want you for something else, and then they're probably going to kill you. So you need to run and fight in that circumstance and try to get away. That's your best chance. But a lot of people are in la la land. They don't understand how terrible criminals can be.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And another scary thing is because we're trying to avoid, you know, certain strangers. But in our day and age, we're meeting strangers all the time. You have, dating apps. You have Uber and Lyft, and they're very useful.
Right.
I use it all the time. Not the dating apps. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean
Good for you.
yeah, uh, the Uber and Lyft. And you mentioned how people are going back to work. Um, is it always safe to be in an Uber and a Lyft? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a whole video on that as well. It depends, if you're alone, if you're by yourself. I always say to sit behind the driver. It's a very domineering position to take, because you don't want to sit next to the driver because you don't really understand if they're going to grab you or, do something to you. I would say most Uber drivers and most Lyft drivers are very great. They're good people and they're just doing their job. But you can find bad people in every industry. every single industry. So you just have to take, the measures when you get into a car, because now you have somebody who is physically driving you somewhere, right? So you just
Yes.
need to pay it. You need to pay attention, and you need to have strong eye contact and pay attention to where you're going. And you're not ever getting in an Uber or Lyft intoxicated and by yourself.
Okay, so don't get into an Uber if you're intoxicated. So you would advise maybe calling a friend?
I would call a friend. Yeah. I mean, it really depends. But even men are robbed, when they're
Yeah.
intoxicated. It's just not wise to do. I would call a friend or somebody that you knew.
No, it's good that you mentioned that because I
Yeah.
mean, me myself, I've gotten into, several Ubers not fully sober, and uh it's not something that I'm looking for. I just want to get home. I don't care. I'm driving safe because someone is driving me.
Right.
Uh but you know, sometimes it's good to, wake up and just be aware that not everyone is Jesus Christ. Not everyone is holy. Not everyone is a good person. Um, do some of the people that you've worked with, do you think that they may take this training and have like a almost a feeling of like paranoia towards everybody, or do you train people to have a balance, and how does that
Yeah. Have a balance. So we teach to profile all
excuse me.
strangers, not on race or gender, right? But profile people on how they are acting. Are they acting weird? And then what is that person doing? Just because there's a homeless person on the street doesn't mean they're going to do anything to you. But now, do they see you? Are they staring at you? And now is their body language changing? Are they all of a sudden standing up? Now are they walking towards you? Right? So there's different levels of escalation that we kind of go through. Just because somebody quote unquote looks scary doesn't mean that they're scary. So it's not about being paranoid at all. You're not expecting to be attacked today. You're not expecting to be robbed today. You're just confident and you're empowered. You know what to look for. You are the hardest target on the street. So they're going to go after, there's going to be so many easy targets on the street that they can go after, but they're not going after you today.
That's the main point. That's the goal,
Yeah.
that they're going to go after you.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned about eye contact, how someone, you look at their body language. Let's say someone is looking at me with the most evil, hateful look, and me being who I am, sometimes I don't think, I just act. um, I'll look back, and I'll probably, my way of looking back at this person is, what the hell are you looking at?
Hmm.
But what is the right way to, be smart in this situation? Because I would like to learn, how can I prevent? Is it better to just walk away, or should I look at that person in the eye, and or what?
It's best to give strong eye contact back. Don't furrow your brows and like escalate the situation, but
Okay.
it's a confident, like, I know who you are, not me, not today. I know what you are, right? It's just that strong, confident, and then move away from that person, because you don't ever want to deal with somebody like that, because you're probably not going to end up winning.
Yeah.
So distance yourself from that person.
And it's
And
great
and as you're
advice.
walking away, you need to kind of look back, watch your six, right? Make sure they're not following you all of a sudden.
Great advice, because if I'm in that situation, and I don't have the training, not just for me, but also for anyone who's listening, it's easy to just, allow instincts to just take control. But it's great to have this training to know, okay, you know what, I'm going to look at that person, but I'm not going to escalate it. I'm just going to have
Right.
that confident look, but still be in control of my actions. And I think that's
Yes.
a very smart thing, because I don't want to go to jail either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Beth, you've spoken about having this pretty loaded. Do you have a website that people can go check out?
Right. Prettyloaded.org. And you will find all sorts of safety guides and videos on there. Uh, we do online training, so you can take the online training at your own pace. I have anti-carjacking videos, just videos on driving safely, because most people don't know how to drive safely and how to stop and where most accidents happen. And then all sorts of videos just on fringe areas and how to be a hard target.
Well, that's great. And to the audience, go check out prettyloaded.org. Um, do you have any words of advice for someone who is uh, probably a victim of these tragic experiences?
Yeah, I just knowing that you're not alone. There are a lot of victims out there, and it's not just women. I deal with a lot of men that have been victimized, and they don't like to talk about it because they think they're masculine and this shouldn't happen to them, but that's not true. That's not true whatsoever. I think the best thing that you can do is, try to get some training, get your confidence back, get empowered again so you can kind of get yourself back. And it's a really important thing. It's important to not live in fear anymore.